I want to take you into the woods. I'm going to start here, Coeur d'Alene. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. It is one of the most peaceful and serene and beautiful places in America. You're there in Coeur d'Alene. You're a firefighter. You've trained your whole life, not for glory, not for pay, but you've trained your whole life to save forest and to save lives. And it is a hot, bone-dry summer afternoon on Canfield Mountain. And there's a brush fire, and it's starting to lick up through the timber. You and your brothers have been called in, not to fight men, not to fight monsters. You're fighting a fire, and you're going to get there in time this time. But you don't realize it's a trap. Hidden in the trees under the cover of smoke and heat was a monster, was a man, a sniper, one man, one gun, one agenda. To kill you and as many of your brothers as he possibly can. He starts firing. A bullet hits its mark, then another. 2 of your brothers are dead before they even know you're being hunted. A third clings to life, fighting for breath as the forest around him burns. And you call in this.
Central BC 5, Central BC 5. BC 5 up 6. Send law enforcement right now. There's an active shooter zone. They're shot. BC 3's down. BC 1's down. Everybody's shot up here. Law enforcement, code 3 now up here. 551, 10 or 14 up here. Stop. Get out of the way. 10 or 14. Engine push 551. Do not come up here. 51 copies. Remaining staging.
Why? What kind of madness? It's evil. That's all it is. It's just evil. Evil doesn't always march in our big cities, carrying signs and flags of enemies, not of America, but of all mankind. This enemy wasn't posting slogans or chanting. This evil was crouching in the brush with a scope and matches. Sheriff Robert Norris, yesterday's voice cracking, shoulders heavy, called it for what it was, an ambush, an intentional act of terror. He said, "We believe the suspect started the fire." Now think of that. He started a fire, a wildfire, to lure in firefighters, men trained to help. Did nothing to him, ever. Most likely, never, ever, ever. Maybe in a bar, they had exchanges or something. Why would you start a forest fire so you could kill firefighters? Not hurt them, kill them. This wasn't spontaneous. This wasn't madness. This was tactical. This is evil. Didn't take long. 300 law enforcement officers flooded the scene. SWAT scoured the mountains. Cell phone signals were tracked. Fire crews pulled back under the gunfire. It wasn't a backwoods skirmish. This was a full-fledged battlefield.
I'm hoping that somebody has a clear shot and is able to neutralize, because they are not, at this point in time, showing any evidence of wanting to surrender. So as soon as somebody has a clear shot, I encourage them to take that shot and neutralize the threat.
Well, eventually they found him on Canfield Mountain. Rifle nearby. He was dead. Was that justice, or was that just an ending? We may never know why this guy, never understand what possessed him to become a predator of protectors. But we do know what happened. We do know firefighters were murdered while doing their duty. We do know today that evil lurks a little closer. Sometimes in our small towns, sometimes in our forests, sometimes in the very emergencies we're trained to respond to. And we know something else. Stuff like this didn't used to happen. Something's changed. And this didn't have to happen. Is it possible we have grown too comfortable thinking violence only happens in the cities? Faraway battlefields. You can't live in the mountain by a lake. Away from everything. You moved away from California to get away from madness. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho just got a wake-up call. Idaho just joined the Club of Heartbreak. So now we wait. We wait for answers. We wait for motives. We wait for someone to say, he was a lone wolf. We wait for one side to say, he was a right-wing extremist, and the other side to say, he was a left-wing extremist. And then one of his neighbors to say, you know, I always had a weird feeling. Should have seen this coming. But while we wait for all of that nonsense, now it's time to do what Americans always do. Clean up the mess. Come together. Mourn and rally. These men didn't die in war, but they died in service. They went up to a mountain to save lives, and they never came down. And that is not just a tragedy. That is sacrifice. I don't know their names yet. Nobody does. I'll be calling the Tunnel to Towers Foundation today once I find out the names, and I'm sure they're probably already on the phone. Make sure their families are taken care of. When their names are released, let us speak those names in reverence for just a second. Let the killer's name vanish into ash. Let the fire of the American spirit burn brighter than the fire that took them. What happened yesterday it wasn't just news. It's a warning.